All right, welcome back to Flip the Switch. In today's episode, we are talking to Corbin Silk. He is the man, he is the myth, he is the legend. Corbin is here to share his journey on how he turned obstacles and challenges into triumphs. He has somebody that's personally coached me in my experience as a founder of Dadbod Sculptors. And today he is here to tell us his journey and most importantly, what he's up to today. Welcome, Corbin.
Awesome, pleasure to be here. Thanks so much, Dane. Beautiful intro.
Yeah.
Flattered.
Yeah, one of my favorite people, man. So I want to kind of give people some context. So when I started Dadbod Sculptors, right, I've always been somebody that's looked into coaches, right? I'm always trying to speed my game up and hire people that have been ahead of the curve. And being 45 and coming from one social media platform, for me, it was LinkedIn and Google. People would search me and then they'd find me on LinkedIn or my website and we converted. When I came over to this side, it was a totally different game, from the way that I needed to present my brand, to the messaging I needed to scale, to the content I needed to put out there, and then the systems I needed to really make it all happen. It was way more than I thought I was getting into. So I did a lot of research and I looked for coaches that can help me. And there's a ton of content and a ton of coaches and a lot of misinformation out on the internet. So I shifted through a lot of it. And I ended up finding Corbin as one of the top 3 people that I wanted to talk to. And so Corbin came across my page mainly because there was some really impressive things that he had achieved from the branding side with helping social media influencers. He had helped some celebrities in foreign countries really scale to tens of millions of views and followers and had very successful businesses. Even a mother with a child was able to scale that under his guidance. So once I spoke to him, I knew, man, the magic is in the bottle with this guy, right? He's charismatic, he's hardworking, he thinks like me, he's calm as well, but he's got this poise about knowing what he's doing is working, and there was a confidence about him. And I knew I needed to lean on the younger generation to kind of guide me, so bam, it didn't take long. It was a 30-minute call, and I knew Corbin was my guy. So I brought him on, he hired me, and he really helped me scale my brand. He was instrumental in really helping me understand the pieces of Instagram and how to position a brand to scale. So I'll forever be grateful for him for that. And we've got a great relationship.
My absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So today what I want him to do is give you a chance, one, to kind of tell us, Corbin, who are you, where are you from, and then eventually how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, by the way. I'm flattered. What a beautiful intro. Thank you so much. So, yeah, pretty much for me, my entrepreneurial journey started 5 years ago. I'm now in my 6th year of entrepreneurship. And for me, like I started where most kind of teenagers, started out trying to build a social media marketing agency. And it didn't really pan out too well, but I was absolutely committed to it. And, I did everything I could. And I remember distinctly, I got into brand building right there and then when I was 19. And one of the things they said was, you got to build a personal brand. Even at 19, I was like, okay, fuck, all right, I got to post some content. And here I am, like tiny little fish in the big ocean. I had no idea what I was talking about, but like what I did know, I knew, and I said it with conviction. And I still have the clips of me like talking, 19-year-old. I had a lisp. I have no idea. I had no idea for years that I had a lisp, but I didn't care. Like just went out there, turned the camera on, just talked about marketing all day long. And I ended up a mutual friend. Yeah. And it was so embarrassing. So like, I had to really summon the courage because, friends know me, family knows me. I didn't start some new Instagram account. It's like, this is a scary thing to do. So I know I just have to do it. And I'm so glad I did because a mutual friend of mine connected me to a really big social media influencer that needed help monetizing. And she was the young mum that you spoke about. She just had a baby. She had a huge audience, 6 million followers, and not a single penny coming in. Just had no idea how to make money from it. And I'd been like studying this marketing thing, taking this course. Like I was like, yes, this is my opportunity. And so I went all in. And at the time, I was ready. Seriously, I think they always say like fortune favors the bold and the prepared, and you get luckier the more you prepare. And that was me. Like I had prepared so much. I worked so much for it. And I was actually working a 9 to 5 in a marketing agency at the time because I was just trying to do everything, right? Trying to get upskilled. I was working some grunt work job, like copy paste for websites. I didn't care. I was like, I want to just be here. Like, this is my thing. Like, went all in, like gave it everything. And so I was trying to manage Sarah, the client. and get her deals, grow a brand while doing full-time work. I remember like I'd take bathroom breaks every hour just to like close a deal, call up someone from the States, like get it done. And I was just hustling, you know what I mean? And and that changed my life. And you know, within a couple months, I was making 100,000 plus a month from deals, like all through me, email, text, call, you name it, I was doing it all. And growing the brand alongside it. And within 8 months, she grew from 6 million followers to 14 million followers, became the biggest TikToker in Australia, and took her from flat broke to fucking filthy rich, and it was the best thing. And that's kind of where it started for me.
That's amazing. So what did you learn in that time period that you were able to kind of put in your toolbox to then take to the market and say, okay, hey, I just went through this roller coaster, built the plane while I was kind of in the air, right? But I walked away with a viable plane that actually can land and take off.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things, because you packaged that and you ended up building a brand from it?
Yeah, I mean, on the practical side of things, like strategies, I learned so much. I learned about, number one, when you are trying to promote, how to disguise promotions. I always talk about it like when you need to give a dog medication, right? Do you have pets at home?
Yeah, we have a dog.
Yeah. I'm sure you've had to give your dog meds before. And if you just try and give that dog medication on its own, there's no way in hell. There's no way it's going down, right? You got to put in a bit of meat, bit of cheese, whatever it is. And then like, that's how the dog's going to, get what he needs. Same deal. And that is what I fundamentally learned on the strategy side. It's like, cool. When you want to monetize a brand, how do you disguise promotions, right? And we promoted, we were doing 3 posts a day, 3 videos a day. Every single one of them was a promo. Every single one was promoting something. We were making money hand over fist, but no one knew.
So they were disguised.
Completely disguised. Most people, when they try and switch their brand to make money, it tanks.
Yeah.
We were growing by 1 million followers a month.
Wow.
Right?
What were you doing?
Well, there's a bunch of it. When promoting, for example, like products, right? There's a very particular way that you'd like promote a product. Right, you want to build essentially this like story around this product and like sandwich this thing in the middle so it feels genuine, right? That's on the product side. On the services side, it was completely different as well. Again, but it's all about like story. It's about like how you frame the promotion. That was on like the money side. On the growth side, I learned a lot about virality, right? A lot of which, in the program that you and I did together was really about the viral stuff. There's a formula that we use, you would know it very well by now, to essentially replicate virality over and over and over again. I was actually taking a look at your brand from when we started versus now, and it's almost that every single clip is just smashing it, hitting it, right? It's the best.
Yeah.
But on the mindset side, away from the strategy and whatever, I think the most important thing I learned and that impacted me the most was when I looked at the brand I was building versus the brand some of my friends are building who also got into the marketing thing at the same time. They built their brand in a disingenuous way. They made it out like their lives were something it wasn't, that they were more successful than they were. They weren't talking about the core value. They weren't being real. And unfortunately, there's some people, that I know that started with me the same way. And they've maintained that air of disingenuity, whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're no longer in business. I made the decision to be genuine right from the start. And I built my brand on just genuine value, just who I was, what I believed in. And that is what has helped me to establish myself now. And it's the same like standard I hold myself to that has allowed me to last so long as an entrepreneur, whereas some of the other people I came up with are no longer in business. That fundamentally impacted me. Yeah.
That's impressive because what you were able to recognize, like we all talk about like things prepare us, and like you stepped into this passion that just kind of was lit, and you prepared yourself, gave yourself some level of belief that, hey, I can do this because I'm showing up for myself every day. Opportunity comes knocking. Instead of saying, wait, I need a week or 2 weeks or I'm not ready. Yeah, let's do it. Right? Let's do 100%. It because you had practiced that muscle memory, which it's hard, but it's so simple, just turning your phone around and going, right? Yeah. I think you taught me that too. It was like, hey, the planning is done, right? We're planned. We got to go. Yeah, we don't need fancy funnels. We don't need big sales teams. It's a Stripe link and a calendar link and go. And so you still practice that in your coaching now, being a student of yours. That's one of the greatest strengths, having a coach that has that muscle memory and that twitch of like, we just practice, we fall forward. And so doing that.
Exactly right. Yeah, well said. And even when it came like that opportunity to work with Sarah, and I'll be forever grateful. Seriously, I'll be grateful for the rest of my life for that opportunity. Yeah. But I know 100% if that opportunity came to anyone else, they would have been too scared to take it.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
I could put myself in your shoes, thinking, no, this isn't like a 6,000 accounts. This is 6 million accounts. I'm not ready. Yeah, I'm not ready for this. And it's easy to talk yourself out of that.
Yeah, I remember something that I'd learned around that time that really stuck with me, that helped me make that decision to go forward, which was literally like, say yes and figure out how later. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And I was like, man, I'd been busting my ass, failing for 6-7 months of this agency thing, and for the first time I got this amazing opportunity in front of me. Am I going to be some like coward and not take this opportunity? Fuck no. I'm going to go all in, give it my all. So I'd pull all-nighters if I had to, do the deals, make her proud. And within the first 13 days, I brought her in $14,000. So like that hit it off right away. She's like, okay, cool, he's the guy. Like, he's in it. He's got it figured out. I'm like, sweet, no problem.
Dude, where does that confidence come from? Like, was there something in your childhood where you showed up for yourself all the time? Whether it was like a baseball thing and you got really good at it, you knew, hey, I've got this muscle where if I show up, things happen. Or was there somebody in your life who always kind of looked at you and said, Corbin, there's something different about you, right? You're meant for greatness.
That's an awesome question. Yeah, it was definitely both. On one side, my parents. My parents were fantastic role models for me for one thing. My parents weren't rich by any means. I didn't come from a very affluent family. I didn't know that my parents had financial struggles growing up. I had no idea. But they kept it to themselves. They kept pushing. They were the most hardworking people I knew. And my dad set the example, as well as my mom, just of the dedication, hard work, showing up, doing it no matter how hard it is, whatever. And that, to me, was ingrained for me right from an early age. And where I got my first practice at that was, not a lot of people know, but I've played drums for like 20 years. From when I was 2, I picked up the sticks and went. And 10 of those years were like professionally. I was playing in bands in front of thousands of people every weekend. Like, that was my thing. And obviously when it started off when I was a kid, I was shit scared. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in front of all these people. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to embarrass myself. And not a lot of people kind of have the stomach for that. Like, I want to paint that picture, right? You're this little kid, 14 years old, stepping on stage, right? This big kid, huge stage, 3,000 people in front of you every weekend. You're like, fuck, like if I miss a beat or I'm out of time, everyone's looking at me. Like, I gotta be perfect. I gotta be on point, on beat, like can't miss a second. And that helped elevate my standard in my personal life and my entrepreneurial journey of what I expect from myself, what clients should expect from me, what I expect from clients, because I held that standard all my life in everything I did. How you do one thing is how you do everything.
That's it.
And so, when that opportunity came knocking when I was 19, Sarah knocked on the door and I'm like, fuck yeah, I genuinely know I can change your life. I can help you. And it worked out. Praise God,
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a blessing. So you go, bring it back. We come through. So that makes sense, right? Because you had that skill of showing up for yourself, and you knew, hey, if I practice something, I'm going to be good at it. Yep. And a lot of people have that at some point in their life as a kid, and then they lose it as an adult, or they get into a new area, and they're like, well, it's unfamiliar, so that uncharted waters becomes too fear-based, right? And they never kind of continue in that faith or belief in themselves. Yeah. That's where you come in with a plan and a blueprint, right? That says, hey, man, you never charted these waters. I have hundreds of times, maybe even thousands of times. Let me tell you what to expect and prepare you for what the waves are going to bring. And so you helped me with the branding, right? And which was great. Now the next level is that you've got your brand, you got your establishment, you've got your content going. You've got to make money, right? And that leads into where you've evolved, right? 6-Figure Fit Pros is now your baby. I know you just created the V2. Which is amazing. But taking them before we even get to V2, V1 is amazing because it incorporates the ability to set up systems that are bulletproof. And you're able to buy back a lot of your time, which was the biggest shortcoming for me. I was on my phone 14 hours a day figuring out how to make a reel and how to get a caption and how to get virality and then study other reels and how to make that reel and put it all together. And then I met Corbin. He's like, why don't you get a team? I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, how do I do that? You know, and so we put together this plan where I slowly added 1 team member, and then 2 team members, and 3 team members, and then now we've got 9 team members thanks to Corbin's structure, because there was repeatability. Once we mastered a certain style of content, we then brought somebody on, gave them the same playbook, and said, this is your content that you're going to master. And so over 90 days, we were able to dial in our audience, our avatar, our content, the 3 styles of content we do each day, and most importantly, how do you execute and get it out? Because just getting one piece of content out is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And so that's where Mr. Corbin came in and said, hey, let me introduce you to, I'm also the VA scale guy. And I said, well, tell me more about that. And so he really changed the game. I had leveraged VAs as a headhunter for years and didn't know how to leverage them here. And so Corbin really showed me how to utilize these VAs, virtual assistants, from around the globe that are hardworking. With a little bit of training and direction, man, you can set them up to be super successful. And that's one of your gifts, right? That's one of the things you're known for. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Really, when you started to incorporate that in your life and how you bought back time to accelerate.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I'll give you the short story, and then I'll tell you how it all started, because it's a super fucking dramatic story, actually, where I found it. But the VA thing, like, I'm a huge believer in systems. You yourself being a business owner, even before, you know, the coaching programs, you're an amazing business owner, right? Like you know systems, you know SOPs, right? It's the only way you can build anything, seriously. Or it's all on you. You haven't built a business, you bought yourself another job.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
And I'm a huge believer in that. And I think where I saw this huge gap for fitness coaches was even in the same way with you. Like, I saw this gap of all these guys are just trying to do everything themselves. Film the content, edit the content, come up with the ideas, post it all by yourself. I'm like, no, build a system, get the team. And the same thing I found for the money-making side of things. I'm like, all these like coaches are being told by some other like Muppet guru that like, you got to sit there and send 50, 100 DMs a day. Do you know how much time that wastes? It's like 4 hours a day of burning time where you could be spent on sales calls, pushing the brand forward, doing the content, but instead you're glued to the phone doing stupid shit. Like, that's dumb, right? And so I'm like, great, well, you should use this VA system, essentially get your VAs trained up with our DM script. We've sent over 60,000 DMs in the past 18 months. I've done more testing than anyone. I did my tax return last year, and they said I spent $75,000 on my team last year just for the testing, for the DMs. I don't know a single person who's done that. So we've tested every opener, every pitch, everything. And I was like, people need this thing, man, because they're stuck to their phone, not moving they don't even have a business, right? They need this thing. Yeah. And that's where 6-Figure Fit Pro was born out of. And, you know, praise God, like every month has been a record month in the past 5 months of pushing 6figurefitpro.co, and it's been amazing. And that's why we launched V2. But where it started for me was actually, it was after Sarah. Like after Sarah, you know, I made a bunch of money. I didn't want to do influencer management anymore. Went into dropshipping, lost all the money. $40,000 I put into dropshipping alone, lost it all, every penny. And most people would wonder, like, how on earth could you fail? Like $40,000 in dropshipping, how could you lose? Yeah. And I was just so distracted. You know, when and this is what I was telling you from way back, right? Like, I went to this mentor and this guy and tried to use this strategy and the other one. Yes. And I use this analogy all the time of like, imagine yourself rowing a boat, right? If you're trying to row in every direction, guess where you're going to go? Nowhere.
Yeah. True story.
Right. Yeah. You're just going to go in circles. You look like a Muppet on the beach, just steering around in a circle, right? Yeah. And so that's why I lost in dropshipping. And, you know, to this day, I love the business model. I have nothing against it because it taught me so much. And, you know, when I was down and out, I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm now broke. I haven't been this broke in years. I can't accept this anymore. Like, my family knows me as this young, successful guy. I've pushed beyond the boundaries, done what my family's never been able to do in generations, and I can't go back. And so I'm like, cool, I want to keep this dream alive. And I got another 9 to 5, second 9 to 5 in my journey. Stayed in there 8 months. And over those 8 months, while I felt that security, I felt like I was dying as an entrepreneur. Right?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Like, I'd just come from this high. You know what I mean? Like, I represented the biggest influencer in the country. Like, that's what I was doing. And now I'm working 9 to 5. Like, what's going on, right?
Yeah, you didn't associate. It was like cognitive dissonance. You're like, no, this isn't reality.
And, like, I cracked in that 8th month. I'm like, I just can't do it. And a buddy of mine, he's like, Corbin, you know how we wanted to build this marketing agency from way back? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this new mentor, he's going to help us. He's going to build us our office. He's going to do this thing. He's charging 10 grand. I'm like, fuck, like, I've only saved up like 13 grand working in this company. And he's like, here, to save like money, move in with me. He lived in a mining village 10 hours away from my city.
Okay.
Like, come stay with me. We'll keep you for free. I'm like, all right. Packed up everything, moved, left everything behind. I'm like, I'm going to pursue this thing, right? Put the 10 grand in. I'm down to 2 or 3K by that point, and I just went all in. And nothing happened for like the first month. And then the second month, and nothing happened. Like, oh my God, what's happening? Did I just lose everything? And I remember I was with my buddy, and I was going back home to surprise my dad for his birthday, right? And on the way there, we stopped over at a gas station, and I looked at my phone, at my bank balance, and I had $1,000 left. I need to paint that picture. As a 19-year-old, I was making 35 grand a month profit, all the way down to now. I'm 22 years old at this point. $1,000 left in my account. I can't explain how that feeling was. Yeah, it was like someone had cut out my stomach. Like, that was rock bottom.
Especially when you're going to see your parents.
Yeah, and I couldn't let them know.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
I had to keep a brave face. I'm like, nah, I'm still that guy.
Yeah.
And in that car, I was this close to mental breakdown. I was like, oh my God, like, what have I just done? And then I was doubting everything, going back and forth. And then somehow, like, I owed all to God. I don't know what it was. Like, there was something that, like, just steeled my focus again in that moment. Came back to my mate's place after surprising my dad. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to lock myself in this room. I'm not going to come out until I figure it out. And that's where I figured out the VA system. Right?
So that's how, so from that tranche a little bit of darkness, it's like you decided I'm going to keep swinging.
Yeah, and like, I paid this mentor, and he had the bare bones of this VA structure, but it just wasn't suitable, wasn't working. And then in that room, I locked myself away, and I remember watching this Tony Robbins video, and he's like, entrepreneurs don't fail because of lack of resources. They fail because of lack of resourcefulness. I'm like, great. Yeah. So I've got this thing.
You had the answer. You're like, all right, now I've heard it.
Yep.
Now it's up to me.
So, how do I make this work? And I didn't leave that room, and I figured that motherfucker out. And then just as I like started to figure it out, my buddy said, hey, Corbin, I'm so sorry, mate, but we can't keep you here anymore. You got to go back home. I'm like, I can't go back home. I've got at that point, I had $652 in my account. I can't go back home. I can't. And he's like, I'm sorry, mate. Went back home. And once again, I'm not leaving this room until I figure this out. I was desperate. And then just like that, praise God, from the time I launched, in that 16-day window, closed 15K, cash collected. And then I just knew, I'm like, oh my God, like, I figured it out, like I found it. I found it again, like, it's me. Like, I don't need some big influencer, like, I did it.
Yes.
I was at rock bottom, and then I did it.
Yeah.
I figured it the fuck out. And then after that, it just smashed it. In the first 75 days, generated 50K, and then within those 75 days, we're doing 20K a month. So scale from 0 to 20K a month within 75 days. I'm like, oh my God, like I was like as rock bottom as you could get, like desperate.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have that give up bone in my body. Like I couldn't, because what's the alternative, you know?
That's that flip the switch moment for you, right? Where the flip the switch moment for me, it's like one of those scariest moments of your life, because you're facing a reality that you're refusing to face, and it's like, this can't be my life. This isn't supposed to be my life, but it's going to be my life, right? Yeah. If I don't like turn it on or turn things off, right, and just put those blinders on. Everybody that's built something great it's not like you're destined to say, I want to go in a room and build it. So you're almost forced to, out of desperation, most people but then once you break through it, it just becomes the muscle. It's like, oh, I did it. Now that's my new standard. And you've continued to raise the bar on yourself, which I love. Like, you won't be the same Corbin in 2 years as you are today.
No, spot on. Like, I even started this year, went through a huge transformation in terms of who I was. And this was brought on by a really good buddy of mine now. And he was my sales coach, actually, and turned out to be a really good mate of mine afterwards. And he told me, on a strategic level, it's like, Corbin, you got to get into YouTube seriously. Like, you got to take it real serious. I'm like, cool, like, how many should I do? He's like, 3 a week. I'm like, fuck. Right. And I look back on 2023, and I'd done 12 videos in the whole year.
Yeah.
Right? So one post a month. He's like, you got to do 3 a week. And so I'm like, great. So I went all in January, start of the year, and I just decided this is the standard. This is what I'm going to do. And I did it, and January was a record month. February doubled January's revenue. Right?
From adding that,
I don't say that
extra layer. Yep.
Yeah, I don't say that to brag. I say it for this one reason, because what I found, the secret in long form content, by the way, is that gives you more of an opportunity to prove who you are. You get to show other people what your personality is in a way that you can't do in short form content. You get to talk for longer. They see more of your personality. And anytime you can consistently grow that muscle, use that muscle of who you are, your personality, your message, you just become a different person. That is the beauty of YouTube content. The benefit that you get is not views, it's not, more buyers, whatever. It's you strengthen who you are the more of that content you do. And I went through a huge transformation start of the year because of that. And just kind of like rewinding to that flip the switch moment. Yep. What I realized, if I look back again at other friends, they have denied themselves that flip the switch moment where when it gets really hard, when there's that do or die moment where they are forced to figure it the fuck out, they can't stomach it. They're this close to the edge of their comfort zone and they just can't stomach it. And they go back to normality, shrinking back into the old way. And it's such a loss, like, who could you have been if you just pushed a little more?
Yeah. What do you think is the one thing that causes that? From the winners and the people that go for it and the people that don't?
I think, at least for me, what I've found, there's a few things. Is number one is, like, needing to succeed. I'm sure you know that story of like Kobe with his trainer and how he's trying to force his head underwater and it's like, until you want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, you won't succeed. Yeah. I don't think people have that. I don't think people like need to. But like, if they don't, what happens? Yeah. Okay, cool. It's not a thing of, I can't buy this new iPhone or whatever. No. If I don't, I can't eat. If I don't, I'm evicted. If I don't, then this happens. Like, what's the stakes? And they deny themselves those stakes. And that is genuinely, people are made under pressure, but people avoid pressure. Yeah, they do. And there's those associations with, if I don't, this happens. My observation, like, from that, if I were to have to answer that question, one of the other attributes is the people that take the step have the element of faith or belief in something greater than themselves. And they have this sense of awareness that I'm meant for better. I'm supposed to be better. I have to believe in that even if I don't see that. And that because there's just that 1% hope sometimes, right? Or when I was a kid, I did this. I know that when I was in my dark days, like, I was grabbing onto things that I did as a kid, tough moments I had to remember. Wait, I had this in me. And so that would strengthen a belief system at the moment that said, I can do this, right? I'm going to do this. Wow. I wouldn't have been put in this position if I wasn't meant to do this. The faith aspect for me, right? And so that's always helped me because the fears are always going to be there. And some of the people that I've encountered that don't take that step, it's the fear that consumes them and they never replace it with the faith. Wow. Yeah. Well said. I didn't even think of it like that. And I think if I do reflect, for sure, there were those moments where I'm like on my hands and knees, like, God, if you don't like take the wheel here, like, it's all over. Like, I know you're trying to teach me something. Lesson learned. All right. Just help me out. You know, I can't take anymore. And there's been times like even the last 12 months. Last 12 months were the best, but the hardest 12 months easily for me. Even harder than that moment of $1,000 in the account. And God tested me in a way that I never anticipated. There were moments where I was like, I genuinely cannot take any more of this. Like, I need some help. Yeah. And for a long time, I was fighting against God last year. And I'm like, nah, dude, like, what are you, like, you're playing games with me. Like, I thought I'm here to win. Like, I thought, what are we doing? And then I asked God for a sign. I'm just like, if you're genuinely on my side and you really want me to win here, like, just let this thing happen. I need a break. And then it happened. I'm like, and it was a huge break. I'm like, whoa, you actually, like, you don't want me to lose. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like a simple moment. It's like, oh, right, you want to help. Yeah. It's like, all right, maybe we do have this. And from that moment, exactly what you said, to your point, from that moment, it just got better and it just kept getting better. I'm like, okay, like having that faith, like not fighting against God anymore. Like, okay, he's actually here. Like, he wants me to win. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, it's like I need that champion, you know? Some people, it's like a grandparent when they were a kid, you know? They always believed in them when maybe the parents didn't or something. You know, for me, it was my grandfather. You're meant for greatness. And other people were, hey, Dane, calm down, right? You're too excited. Slow down. When's enough, you know? And that was the family mentality, but there was always that one person that said, like, hey, man, there's more for you. And so that, even to this day, 45 years, like, you still remember that. And
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. I love that, man. So we run into a couple of challenges as coaches, fitness coaches. You alert to them. There's a lot of things that you need to master, man. It's like a video game. You're just constantly fucking figuring out ways to get more skills to level up. You know, when you're buying back your time so you can go put more time to get a new skill and then master that skill and then, pass that off and buy that up. So we get the VAs in place. Corbin kind of comes into my world. He helps me get the VAs in place. And we had a bunch of challenges, but my challenges are different than the common challenges you are serving now, which is the most important challenge, which is making money, right? Putting a brand together, as Corbin says, he knows a lot of people that have 1 million followers and they're brokies, right? You need to be able to not only add value to your followers, but also serve them and in exchange for payment, because it is a living. And you need to be able to feel that you're worth what you're charging. And the encouragement is charge more versus less, because when you charge more, you can give more. When you charge less, you give less. When you give less, you get less. When you get less, it's less return, right? And so nobody wins, the client or the coach. So getting zoned in as a coach and getting to 20K, what are some of the common problems these guys are having? And how are you solving that for them, right? How are you taking somebody that says, dude, because you got testimonials. Anybody, we'll put a link here. He's got amazing testimonials, me included.
Thank you.
But how are you doing that, man? Tell people some of the common things you see and how we walk through it.
Yeah, great question. I'll tell you to start off with where people come to me at, like who they are. Because what I've noticed, right, and you know this too, any strategy can work. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say, all these other strategies, they never work whatsoever. Mine's the only one. That'd be ignorant of me. There are a million strategies out there. The problem is who's steering the ship. Right? Yeah. That is what people struggle with most, is because they don't know how to be leaders. When you transition from it all being on you, you're a one-man army, to now you have to lead a team. Now you have to lead your business. The demand is different, and most people are not equipped for that yet. And so where I take people from in V2, the first thing we start off with is mindset modules, right? I need to turn people into leaders, into savages, people that are going to be problem solvers, better problem solvers than they've ever been in their life. If they can do that, the VA system just takes care of business, right? Yeah. I will explain like strategically how, you know, we help solve that problem for people. But the mindset thing is the number one. And the thing people struggle with the most is sticking to the plan. Yeah. Everyone's guilty of it. I was. You start off on one thing. Yeah. Start off on one thing and you're like, but what if I do this? Or maybe I can do this instead. And then you never get it. And so for me, I've made such a push in V2, like, hey, listen, this thing works for all of the people who have just followed the plan. I found this consistently, right? And for any of my clients who are watching this, they'll know it's true. The guys and girls who've won in the program, they just follow it blindly. They don't try and change it. They just stick to the plan and they win.
Yeah.
The people who are always in my DMs like, oh, Corbin, like, oh, I'm struggling, like it's not working. I always ask them like, okay, well, send me a screenshot of what you've been sending. Have you given your VAs a training? How many DMs are they sending? And like, oh, well, like, you know, we had this going on and my VA's, you know, pretty experienced and she wanted to try her script.
There it is.
And so I'm like, so what you mean to tell me is you didn't follow the plan at all? And like, oh, I guess not. I'm like, well, that's the biggest problem. That's why people can't scale, is because when they get the strategy in their hands, they have to change it.
Yeah.
They're like, it can't be this simple. It is. The hardest part is just doing it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And so strategically how we do this is, number one, for a lot of people who are new time business owners, paying for a team, like spending money to make money, is a really foreign concept. They're happier to spend time to make money. Right? But we need to get them out of that mindset. So the first thing that we do is with a warm acquisition strategy, where if the VA system is costing them, let's say at minimum we can get a VA to do amazing work for us for $3 an hour, 4 hours a day. So it's $12 a day. Across all the working days in the month, we're looking at around $240 of expenses for the month. That VA is going to send 2,000 DMs for $240 a month. Unbelievable. And those 2,000 are all to qualified people. Crazy. Name me one system that can do that. But how can we make that burden of $240 as light as possible so that people don't quit too soon? Warm acquisition. If the VA system is going to take care of the high ticket clients, like you said, higher value, higher price. If the VA system will take care of these people and get the 10K, get the 20K, cool. How can we take care of the VA system? What can we do to make us an extra $12 a day? $240 a month. If we can just solve that, the VA thing will solve the big number you want. All I need you to focus on is this. And so for warm acquisition, everyone's got an audience. Everyone's got an audience. No matter how small. Everyone has one. And all we need is one client, one small client, to pay $240 a month, or two even lower ticket clients. One or two. And then for the rest of your life, or we always balloons. For the rest of the time.
Well, I don't know why that happened.
You had no idea. For the rest of the time that those clients pay, your VA system is taken care of. Most people, if they don't see action in the first month, they'll be like, oh no, like that means I got to pay more money and it's not working yet, more time to dial it in, and then they reduce the amount of spend, then they get worse results, then they never grow, and they don't get the result they want. If we can just keep you in the game long enough so that you can see the impact it's going to have, you'll win. And that is leverage, because essentially just bringing on one low ticket client, right? Maybe you're spending an hour per week serving that client. So you're spending an hour per week and getting 20 hours worth of work back from a VA. That's leverage.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
And that, on the practical sense, is how we solve the problem. But
it also comes down to the mindset. Somebody has to believe my time is worth more than this, right? Like you know, there was this principle when I came over. I came from search, and I built a business so that average deal was 50, 75, 100K, right? And that took me a 15-minute call that was inbound, and then a follow-up 15-minute call, and that's how we closed searches, 50 to 100K. So when I came over to this side and somebody's like, send 200 messages in your DMs, I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm spending my time. Like, I didn't go from that to now all of a sudden having to fucking do this. So I was like, I got to solve this problem.
Seriously.
And so I want to give people some insight, because this is so true. As a practitioner and a new coach, I made all of those errors. I hired multiple coaches at once. Corbin being the third, because I wasn't getting what I needed from the first two. I was more in a system of online information. Hey, here's a bunch of information, pick and choose as you see fit, go get it. But everything you need, business in a box, is here. And that didn't work for me, because I look at every shiny red apple and I'm like, oh, what about this? And what about this? So by the time I got to Corbin, I had two other strategies that had kind of played in my ear from other coaches, and then I hired him. The biggest mistake I made was not just shutting those other vices off, even though they were working, and just saying, hey, I hired you for a reason, let me stick to this plan. So it took me 90 days, I probably could have did in 30 with him if I would have just stuck to the simple plan. And much like coaching and nutrition, it's like, guys, it's not complicated, right? Single ingredients, simple ingredients, 6 times a day. We're not building rockets here. It's very simple. We just got to execute on it. And same thing in the system that you applied. It was like, show up, do the work, know that tomorrow you're not getting an ROI, but you're not going out of business tomorrow. In 90 days, you're going to have a substantially better business, better systems, better people, and you will be able to do some of these other things. And we can start to introduce how to build a funnel or how to do this or that. But you were really great about saying, but this is what we do now.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think even for me, during the time that we were starting to work together, I was also, I'm always evolving. You're always evolving, right? I think entrepreneurs have that innate gift of always wanting to improve themselves. And at the time, I didn't even understand the concept of focus and distraction. And as I've demanded that from myself, I've now been able to demand that from clients. And out of that place really is where V2 was born. It's not just V2 for noob strategies, better strategies, but it's about creating the V2 of you. Because I created the V2 of me.
Yeah.
I need to create the V2 of other people. I can't expect more from others than I can myself.
Yep.
That's leadership 101.
Yeah. And he lives by this, guys, totally. Because when I hired him in September, it was a completely different service than what he's selling now. But by solving the problem I hired him for in September led to the problem he's now solving for now, which is monetizing and getting to 20K, which is the first kind of milestone you want to make. He's done it in a very simple way, and V2 is killing it. I mean, I've seen the numbers, I've seen the marketing, I've seen inside the system, like next level. Tell us about that, man. Tell us what people can expect as a coach. We've got these problems. There's too many things to do in a day. We're spread too thin. We don't know how to spend our time or where to spend our time. And at the end of the day, most of us aren't making the kind of money we want to make, right?
Yeah.
So then that comes in V2. Solve that problem.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. So V2, pretty much, the way that we scale a coach to 20K is over a 4-pillar structure. We always start at number 1, the niche, right? We just reverse engineer. If we want to sell a high ticket program to someone, we can't sell it to average people. That's right. Number 1, they just simply don't have the money, right? So cool, who does have the cash, right? But the second part of that question is, do they have the kind of painful problems that are worth 2, 3, 4, 5K to solve? If you aren't aware of that, you aren't able to tap into it, good luck trying to sell anything expensive, right?
Yep.
So the first thing we want to tackle is the niche and the big problem that you solve. And we've got our worksheets there to help you identify, with the clients to go back and forth to make sure we're hitting the nail on the head. That's number 1. Step 2 is, okay, well, now let's actually build a program, this high ticket program that is able to solve those deep problems and price it accordingly. In doing so, we're not just, building the infrastructure on the front end to bring clients in, get the VA system, but it's also building the infrastructure on the back end. The way that we design fitness coaching programs, we charge more, our coaches do less work, and the clients get better results, right? Isn't that just the dream, right?
Yeah, it is.
So our guys, they save 60% of their time when they use our infrastructure for fitness coaching programs, right? Delivering the service, delivering the value. The clients are way happier this way, actually. The coach is making more money, working. It sounds like it's out of, a book, but this is literally day in and day out. This is what we do. It's a bang. Step 1 and 2 complete. You got the niche, you got the offer. How do you get people on board? That's where the VA system comes in. And for all the acquisition, we got the warm acquisition, like I was saying earlier, and then the VAs. And VAs are absolutely incredible. When you know how to train them right, we do all the training within the program as well. You just literally hire them, follow our SOP. We do all the training. But for myself, how this changed my life, besides that story I was telling you earlier, Dane, is I counted in the past 18 months, just these 2 online businesses, scaled both of them to 6 figures each, different markets, different offers, this. And I look back and just the VAs, not counting ads or anything, any other system, just the VA system made me an additional $210,864 with 30 minutes of maintenance per day.
It's awesome.
I would just check in with the team half an hour a day, and like again, over 200K in additional revenue.
Yeah.
In the past 18 months. Fucking nuts, right?
It's
like
really
sick.
Good. Yeah.
Oh my god, sick ass. Like that's sweet. And the profit margins on that are like bonkers. Like it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Right?
You're so good.
And so, thank you. So my mind says, if we can install that same thing, install that system for our fitness coaches, they'll be off to the races.
Yep.
Right? Because there is no other system on earth that can give you the lead quality like cold DMs. Because you can pinpoint select who you want to reach out to.
Yeah.
It's not just tire kickers coming to you, you're going to them, exactly who you want to reach out to.
Yep.
Right?
There's a strategy behind that you teach.
That's right. It's personalized. And, on top of that, it's automated.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Right?
So
bang on.
VA goes in, they do all the digging, so to speak. They find a rock, it looks like it might be a diamond, then what happens? Do they carry it through into the end zone, or does the
pretty much
do you then come up?
So then all they do pretty much, they go through the script, they send a video. That whole strategy behind that, it's cheeky. I can't tell you that on the call, but you know this. And then pretty much they serve it all the way up until, as you mentioned, the end zone. They book the call, you jump on the call. They've nurtured them beforehand, so the show up rate is insanely high, right? And they get on the call and you close them so quick because they've seen your content, they know you. And that's where number 4 comes in, is this whole system depends on that foundation of the right content. And you've nailed this by now. Like your content's fucking unbelievable. It's exceptional.
Thanks, man.
Anyone who you message, what's the first thing they're going to wonder? Who's Dane? Who's this guy messaging me? They go into the account and what's the first thing they see? Mark Wahlberg. That's what they see. Hulked out Mark Wahlberg, inspirational quotes. I see it all like, this is my guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's helped. For sure.
Yeah.
When you build it the right way, people come and there's like, it's like that's your armor. It's like, I don't know you, but I know you. Right? I know what you're about. I know how you step into I know how you show up daily.
Yeah, that's right. And so for us, in terms of the saving the time for coaches, number 1, obviously, you don't have to send any more DMs yourself. Praise God. You're saving 4 hours a day. Number 2, in the back end for the infrastructure, serving your clients, it's cutting down the workload by 60%. And, number 3, to do all of that, steps 1, 2, and 3, so you launch, takes 14 days.
To get it all right.
Yep. 1 to 2 hours a day, 14 days, and you've launched.
Boom.
Crazy.
It is crazy. So that is a huge opportunity, guys, because you're hearing most of the problem is, right, who do I serve? Who do I want to be when we grow up? And most coaches that I've met, they're all generalists. Like 95% of them, they're generalists. Guys, girls, doesn't matter the age. They got a checkbook. They need somebody to coach them and write a meal plan. They're doing it. So they don't have a focus. And the riches is definitely in the niches. You have to get niche. So you need somebody that's going to help you do that. And the best way to do that, Corbin will teach you this in the program, but you're most qualified to help your past self, right? So finding the person that you were versus the person you are, you can now lend that advice. And then when you get the other 2 and 3 components in, you're doing nothing but what you love to do, and that's help and serve and make things better for the people you're helping and serving. Like that's what it's allowed me to do. Like November or December, I was at my breaking point. I'm like, man, I cannot be doing these tasks anymore. I was at the end of my team picking it all up, but I was still really resistant on just letting it go. And I read a book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And in his book, he talks a lot about what Corbin talks about, but one of the things he says is 80% of something done by somebody else is 100% awesome. And me being this perfectionist, I went like, damn, he's right. Like, just get 80% back from these guys. Stop being so like, because that's a lot of us do. We get these VAs and we're like, you got to get it right the first time. And they're not what you said they were. And you kind of, it's like, bro, they need to be massaged. You got to train them. You got to teach them. You got to guide them just like a puppy. But eventually they learn that they pee outside. They eventually learn not to jump on the couch. They eventually learn, right? They don't bite your hand when they get a treat. But they don't know that initially. They just act.
Yeah. And that's everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spot on. I mean, that's everyone. When you're training anyone, it's human nature. When you're picking up a brand new skill for the first time, you're pretty shit at first. You need a patient leader.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we build, as patient leaders that are on the other side of the coin, aggressive. They're driving that car at 110 miles an hour. You know what I mean? They're pushing.
Yeah. Yes.
But
when you get them trained and you get them competent and you give them a little bit of trust and they let them make some decisions, then they start running through walls for you. They start celebrating victories more than you celebrate them. And that's what becomes awesome. You helped me with that. I was super impatient. I was one of those people going, hey, calm down, right? Let's take a step back. Let's revisit this. And I was trying to do it all too much. And that you siloed. Like, get good at one piece of content. Repeat it. Let them get good. Maybe it takes 3 weeks, or maybe it takes 4 weeks. But then go do another piece of content. And it was like, all right, shit, that took a lot of pressure off of my day. I was really stressed for weeks because I didn't have somebody to tell me that, right? And I didn't know, I didn't have the belief of what I was doing was getting me to where I wanted to go, so I was just fucking throwing everything out.
And I do remember that
moment. Line for you was like, dude, I've been there. This is the road. Just keep going, and we're going to do it, one step at a time.
Yeah, and look, honestly, credit to you. Like, I think anyone else, being in the situation that you were and us having that conversation, probably would have taken that, the advice a different way. Like, no, fuck that. Like, they're just not doing it. But you fully was like, let me just take a step back. Let me be patient with these guys. Let me lead them better. And then obviously, the rest is history. Like, you've done so well. And I use you as an example for so many things. I always talk to guys about, remember the Apple versus Android aesthetic.
Yeah.
And when these new guys are trying to build their brand, I'm like, take a look at my guy here, Dane. And I go all the way back to when we started. I'm like, what do you call this? This is an Android aesthetic. And now look at this. Look at this thing. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah. It's so true. I use that example and I tell people all the time, I'm like, my page used to look like an Android. Do you know what an Android is? And then I tell them the iPhone. I'm like, you see it? You see the iPhone now?
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
But honestly, man, credit to you. So, you've done so well, and it was a pleasure to coach you and obviously to keep working together. Like, I know you're an executor at the end of the day. That's the number one thing I know about you right from coming in. Like, man, Dane's going to fucking move at 100 miles an hour. I'm going to move there with him. And we're going to knock down every barrier that we can. If we need to be patient some things, we will. Yeah. But we're going to move this motherfucker all the way to the end zone.
Yeah, that's the kind of coach you need. At least what I needed. Somebody to call me on bullshit, and say, hey, man, you're not seeing it right with a clear lens here. And that was like what you always did. You always push back. And I was like, damn, he's 24. How old are you now?
Just turned 24, yeah.
Yeah, 20. I mean, super mature, to be able to push back and say, hey, it was the right pushback, and it was always the right advice, and it required me to reflect. So that's always a key too, right? You're going to hire a coach. You have to be able to value every single piece of information they give you and put that on your plate to evaluate. So looking ahead, man, you're solving a lot of problems, and you always keep evolving as messaging evolves and as things evolve. Like, that's what's awesome about working with you. That's why we've maintained kind of an open relationship. But what's next, right? 6-figure, FitPro V2 is out. Like, what's most exciting for you this year? Yeah,
man. I mean, like I was telling you just off camera a little bit, is we're like 6 months ahead of schedule, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I'd never anticipated that happening so quickly this year. So praise God. And so everything's just, the timeline's moved up. And for me, actually, God willing, on Wednesday, I'm going to be making an investment in a new coach for myself, someone I've really studied over the past couple months, and very expensive coach, but absolutely worth it. And I know for me, that's going to take me to the next level. And my goal this year is 100K a month. And I know without a doubt I'll get there. And this guy's produced incredible entrepreneurs that do the same thing. And I've got a really great foundation. He's been watching my stuff, and he agrees as well. Like, as soon as I implement this stuff and, start spending money on acquisition and just 10x everything, then I know easily we'll get to 100K. And that's the financial side of stuff, and really excited for that. In terms of everything else, man, just keep sowing into the community. I show up every day and I give myself over to my community every day. Everything that I've got.
Yeah, he does. He certainly does. Dude, it's like, so much for that. I want people to take away from this episode a couple of things. Like, Corvin was a guy that kind of came into a passion later in life. He bet on himself consistently. He believed in himself. He took risks on himself. And eventually that didn't lead him to the ideal road, right? Even doing all that led him into a place of challenge and obstacles where it's easy to say, well, I tried all of these things, I believed all of the right thoughts, and it just wasn't meant for me, right? And there's a moment that we all face in all of our obstacles, but it's that moment of like, no, not today, motherfucker, not today, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to figure something out today that moves me forward. And Corbin kept doing that, and he's serving now hundreds of coaches, and all of us have him to thank for that. And I know that, you know, he's the man, he's the myth, and he's on his way to being the legend. That's for sure. So as I'm somebody that always practices what I preach, like I learned a long time ago, nobody goes to the Olympics without a coach, right? If you want to become the best at anything, you need somebody there. And coaches always hire coaches. And if I hire a coach that doesn't hire a coach, super suspect. So super suspect. Yeah, right. Because this dude's got all the answers already. Corbin is always invested, man. So that's why we'll always be friends. Where can they find you, brother? Give them some place, because the YouTube channel is going off. The Instagram always has great reels. Tell people.
Thank you, man. Yeah, so Instagram is just at Corbin Silk. You'll notice if you search, there's a bunch of accounts. Those are just outreach accounts. But at Corbin Silk, the verified one, that's me. Our YouTube as well, at Corbin Silk. Our website, you can check out some of the case studies Dane was talking about earlier. It's 6figurefitpro.co. And you'll find everything you need on there. If you want to book in a call to chat, all the links are everywhere. So, yeah, thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, we will give you guys a bunch of links, and I'll see if I can work out something with Corbin to give you guys. If you're interested, message me, and I'll make an intro to you for Corbin and help. Because I know that I don't even know if he has any spots left, because he just sold like your whole.
Yeah, we reached capacity, extended capacity for February.
Yeah, he has to reload on VAs first, but eventually he'll be able to take on some new clients again.
Yeah. No, looking forward to it. Dane, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute honor.
Yeah, same here, man. Thanks for coming on the show, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
Catch you guys.
Later.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.